Good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for joining us for the third of 4 Money Matters webinars, co-sponsored by the Friends of the Sacramento Public Library and the Sacramento Public Library. The Friends of the Library are honoring retiring Library Director Rivka Sass. She'll be retiring just at the beginning of January. So we're honoring her with the Young Readers Fund, which is an endowed fund in her honor, nurturing young readers of the future. To find out more about us or the Young Readers Fund, visit us at saclibefriends.org. I'm Karen Wilson, president of the Friends of the Sacramento Library. Our Money Matters sessions, held live at noon on Thursdays this month, cover subjects everyone needs to know more about. Coming up, building a lasting legacy, how you want to be remembered. Today's topic is protect your dollars and avoid financial fraud, preventing scams during the time of COVID. Couldn't be more timely. Our speaker is Antonia Villaseñor of the California Department of Financial Protection. She is an education and outreach coordinator, and she travels all across the state speaking on how to prevent financial fraud. First, a few housekeeping tips. Please put your questions in the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen. You'll see the button there. Antonia will answer them at the end of her presentation. If you need to access closed captioning, you can click on the live transcript button at the bottom of your screen. If you put your posts in chat, please know it will be recorded, so keep the conversation respectful. We request that. And a recording will be made available of our presentation today on the Sacramento Public Library's website, and that's saclibrary.org, and it will be posted on their YouTube channel. So now, Antonia, we're looking forward to what you have to say, and I think we all have some experience with what you're going to talk about.
Thank you. And first, I want to thank the library for the opportunity to be with you today. Getting ready to share my screen here. Okay, I am sharing my screen according to this. Thank you very much to the Sacramento Public Library for this opportunity today to bring the important information about financial fraud prevention. My name is Antonia. I'm with the I'm an education and outreach coordinator with the California Department of Business Oversight. And okay. Today, I'll be introducing the department, talk about financial scam prevention. I will give us all information about our brains when we're making financial decisions, how scammers use stress and emotions to their benefit, information about tools and resources to protect yourself, information about how to file a complaint, and we'll answer your questions. The DFPI, and it may be a new name, a new department for you. We've gone through several names in our over 100 years of being active in the state of California. The department started protecting consumers in 1913. So even if you're not familiar with us, we have been here. Our responsibilities are to license financial services, products, and professionals. In California, if a person is doing business in the state of California, they need to have a license with us. Our authority comes from the state legislators who pass laws regulating financial services and give the DFPI authority to carry out those laws. People and companies who are providing financial services in California need to be licensed. We have teams of examiners for the different kinds of licensees. We have attorneys and investigators who work in-house and are sometimes loaned to other law enforcement agencies to help with cases where we have shared jurisdiction. As we've said, I work out of the Education and Outreach Office, and it's my pleasure to share this information with folks. So among the types of financial services, these are the kinds of businesses that you'll see in your neighborhood, in your financial world. And I want you to know which of those are regulated by the department. And that's state licensed banks or credit union, finance lenders, California residential mortgage loan originators, lenders, and servicers, payday lenders, investment advisors, securities brokers and dealers, money transmitters. And when I say money transmitters, it's not just the traditional Western Union type of businesses, but it's also the apps that we use on our phones and our mobile devices these days to transfer money around. And Pace Solar financing servicers and student loan servicers. And now we have some more that we've added recently, some more businesses. Governor Newsom recently passed a law, AB 1864. It's called the California Consumer Financial Protection Law, and it has added some new kinds of businesses. Credit repair agencies and consumer credit reporting companies, debt collectors. Debt collectors is new, I want you to know, because before this, debt collectors were not regulated in the state of California. We also are supervising regulating debt relief providers, rent-to-own contracts, and that's real estate as well as commercials you may have seen on television about, rent-to-own furniture or appliances, and private for-profit school funding models. To see a full list, you can look on our website. We have lots of resources for consumers about a variety of topics. They're online and in print, and we are happy to mail you our printed materials for free. This is just to show you where on our website, what it looks like when in the consumer area, and you can click and look at our brochures in different areas of education for consumers. These are pictures of some of our most popular booklets that talk about fraud prevention, and I'll be referring to Protect Yourself from Fraud in some later slides. A lot of this information is also included in the booklet, and you can look at it online as a PDF or get actual booklets. And the Protect Yourself from Fraud is also available in Chinese and in Spanish, and I believe we're working on Korean. Okay, this is just a partial list of common scams. New ones are coming up frequently. I want to give you information that you can use to resist these and new scams. So I'd like to use the chat if you would please help me out. Do you go grocery shopping when you're hungry? And what happens when you do? And if we could put in your answers in the chat. I'd like to see what happens. Are you seeing any, Karen?
Not yet, but I have a feeling I know what I do when I go shopping when I'm hungry. And here's, now people are agreeing with me. They buy a lot of food they don't really want. Rose says, I try not to, but then I want to buy all the things and come home with way too much to eat. Steve says he buys snack food. Nefertari says, yes, that part. And Helen says that she buys more junk food. It sounds like food on the not nutrition part of the scale, huh? I try not to shop hungry. I spend more money and not on good food. This is from Haley.
Right. Okay, thank you. Yes, you get the idea. So this is your brain on stress. When we're stressed, it's not the best time to make financial decisions. Here, I'm sharing an image from an article about our brains that shows how our logic goes offline when we are stressed. Can you see my little arrow move around? I'm moving it in the black area right now.
Yes.
Okay. Scammers deliberately push us into emotional states, that's this side, knowing that they can profit when our logical thinking goes offline. Stress changes our brain chemistry. When we are emotional, be it unpleasantly or pleasurable, our brains focus there rather than on logical decision-making. Scammers will rush, pressure, try to convince us we should not lose out on a great offer, that we've won a great prize, sometimes lots of cash. They may threaten us with arrest if we don't pay a bill, a service, or account may be interrupted. Basically, something bad will happen unless we do or give them what they want. Or they may convince us we're in love. And who doesn't want a free iPad or $1,000 phone for $25? The research tells us the best thing we can do is pause, wait 24 hours, sleep on it. Let the stress chemicals rinse out of our brains. Talk to someone else who we trust. Sound it out. There isn't a legitimate financial decision that can't wait 24 hours. So I copied this from a science magazine about the stress brain and our decision-making process. Here, I show you with my little arrow, this, oh, sorry, let's go back. The prefrontal cortex, we'll press click this time, which when we're calm handles all, the decision-making process throughout the brain. It has good control of our thoughts, emotions, and actions. When we're stressed, if you see here, this prefrontal cortex, it's grayed out, it goes offline, quite literally. There is a use for this. This old part of our brain, the amygdala, takes over. And this is really useful. If you think back in evolution, this is the part of our brains when there was a large creature with claws coming at us, it said, run, right? And that's how we got here today, because our ancestors ran from the danger when they needed to. And during this fight or flight moment, the brain doesn't consider logical reason. Our brain doesn't sit there and calculate, well, this is the intersect vector and this is the distance of the speed I need to cover, to avoid this, bad animal coming after me. No, it doesn't do that. It just says run. Or in modern terms, deal with the crisis. And it's why people will focus on a crisis. And during that time, have you ever found yourself saying, why did I make that decision? Or what was I thinking? Remember those times in our lives where we said later on, what was I thinking? It was because this part of our brain was in charge. And I tell you this because I can talk about different scams all day long. And tomorrow or later today, there'll be a new one. But I want you to know, to have this fundamental tool of recognizing the issue around and the tool of making a financial decision when you're in a calm state of mind. That is optimum. And, stressor can be as minor as just a little bit hungry, skipping a meal before you go shopping. So this is a great tool. And what you can do, again, remember, wait 24 hours. One of the most common scams we see in our department, because we regulate investments, is affinity scams. And we always have to give you information about that. It hits groups. Sometimes they speak the same language. Sometimes it's a professional group. We've seen it happen among elite SWAT units and military rangers. We've seen it happen in ethnic communities, among seniors or professional groups. So if somebody, and we have this picture of a desert because there was a scam about building a city in the desert. That's why this is here. And people investing in that. So if somebody offers you a unique but vague investment, if they want you not to tell anybody about it, wink, wink, or they want you to sign a confidentiality agreement, those are blinking, screaming red lights about it possibly being a Ponzi scheme or another kind of scam. Today, I want to talk about common COVID-19 scams. I got firsthand knowledge about this because for 10 months as a state worker, I was reassigned as a COVID investigator to a local health department in California where I contacted people who had tested positive for COVID. So a lot of this information comes from my time in education there. I want you to know that COVID-19 scams are real. Contact tracing scams happen, unfortunately. And I want you to know that a real contact tracer will never ask for money or financial information or your social security number or anybody's immigration status. They do work for the health department, and they contact COVID positive people to track symptoms, and also people who've been in contact with a COVID positive person. It's a confidential, simple way that's been used for decades by health departments to slow the spread of infectious diseases. The call will show as a local public health department on your phone. They will ask about the places you've been and the people you've been around while you were infectious. They'll ask about your symptoms and health information. You may receive information by US mail or text, and they'll give you information about your next steps based on your answers. So I want to give you information about what will happen in a legitimate interaction. Also, here are some legitimate resources for you. Your local 211 number. In case everybody doesn't know, you can dial 211 from your phone, and it's a free directory that'll have tons of information. You can ask about COVID resources, if you don't know where to get a test or where to get some vaccines or where to get legitimate information. There's also a toll-free MediNurse line. If you're uninsured or have Medi-Cal but no regular doctor, this is a line where people can call and ask questions. Sadly, some people need help with funeral assistance. And the only way to apply to this federal FEMA program, and it has up to $9,000 per deceased. And I think families can qualify for up to $35,000 because sadly, multiple family members have passed away. The only legitimate way to apply for this is at this toll-free phone number. You can get more information in this website. So here's an example of a scam. If somebody approaches someone offering to help them with this, to apply for this process and wants to charge them for it, that's a scam. Also, if someone is having an issue with paying their mortgage, or if they need help with getting rental assistance, they can call and ask to learn about where they can contact the HUD housing counselor. You can also call 211 for this kinds of information. Other kinds of scams are people contacting and offering to send a vaccination to your home for a fee. That's not legitimate. Or they may advertise cures. There's no cure right now at this point. And the moment there is one, it'll be big news. So be very careful about what people offer you. If you're concerned that something may not be legitimate, please call 211. They can also put you in touch with your local health department. They can give you the legitimate numbers for that. So it's very important to know where to get legitimate information. And if you need, we can come back to this slide. Now, since many people are doing a lot more shopping online, it's really important, I think, to talk about internet safety. Oh, sorry, I have a dog near me here, and she may bark if there's a delivery truck. I apologize. She's doing her job. Okay, it's really important that people limit their personal information online, only what's necessary. An example that we've heard is some folks sadly will post online that, hey, here I am out of town for 2 weeks. I'm at this other place. And when it's letting somebody know they could break in, and we have heard of break-ins that way. We want you to know it's really important to limit your personal information, especially your financial information, credit cards, banking information, birth dates. Be very careful about where you post it. This is a really important piece to know about shopping on a secure network. especially since now with the shopping season upon us already, with the sales already starting, people will be shopping more and more online. So I want to give you some tips for that. The first thing is you want to make sure that you're shopping in a secure network. And you see here this lock. It's very important that you see this lock and that you see HTTPS. S means secure with the, sorry, I pressed the wrong button. With the colon and the slashes. These are very, very important symbols. If you don't see these, you're not on a secure network, and it's not a good idea to share your, especially your banking information. Now, there's a new, a relatively new way of shopping and paying for shopping, and it's called buy now, pay later. And it lets people pay over time. It's especially designed for young shoppers. And this payment method is on websites, and it offers an alternative way of paying. But they do not offer the same protections as purchase with a credit card and may complicate returns and refund requests. I'll explain more on that in a minute. I want you to know the DFPI regulates this kind of financing. So if there's a problem, please let us know. So I've attached an image, and I'm not here to recommend Target. I just copied it from one of their screens. So to let you know what to look for. So, you know, here's I think, you know, people are going to be buying bikes and other kinds of things for this holiday season. And what we see now under a price is this pay over time. This is new. Sorry, I'm learning to play with my arrows. Okay. And what we see here is, even though you may be on a Target website, now you're buying from Spreetail, which is a Target Plus partner. Okay, here's where it starts to get tricky and complicated. At many retail stores before, when I bought something, and let's say, you know, there was a wheel missing from the bike, or, you know, it was defective, or it was the wrong size, whatever reason, I need to take it back. Pay as you go, I could take the item to the store and get a refund. Now you're buying it from Spreetail, which is a partner. So if there's a problem and you need a refund or a return, you are dealing with two entities. You're dealing with the Target and Spreetail. And our department found a couple of years ago that some of these people who are some of these companies were trying to get around regulations. So we sued and forced them to operate within consumer rights laws. So it's very, very important to be aware that if you go this way, it may make your purchase, your subsequent return, especially holiday season. A lot of people return, things didn't fit right, and paying this way could make that complicated. Right, I have another example. And I just pulled down something more expensive. So here's a phone that costs $1,300. And here you say people can pay as low as $130 a month with, again, another pay-as-you-go service. And it's really important to click on the information, educate yourself, because here you can see they're charging over 20% interest for this product. With the other kind of purchase, they may not charge interest if you make all the payments. Let me go back, I'm sorry. Apologize. With this kind of a purchase, if you pay over time and it's a small purchase, there may not be interest if you make all the payments on time. And if something unforeseen happens, then you get other kinds of charges and fees. So let's go back. Okay, now with this one, with this kind of purchase, we know that they're charging interest. And as you can see here, it's over 20%. And you may pay up to $157 in interest in fees. And if you miss payments, again, it gets tricky, meaning more fees. And it gets more expensive. And in order to engage in this kind of a purchase, you may need to give and provide your social security number. They'll do a credit check. They say it's a soft check. And so I want you to know it's really important to look at the details before you make a purchase like this. Also, some accounts now have two-step verification where you enter your username and then they will send you a code over your phone and you log it in here and then you log in. This is considered more secure, and I want you to know about this process in case some account you have may ask you to engage in this. At this point, according to technology, this is a more secure way of handling accounts. Passwords are really important, and we all have them. If you keep it on your phone or on a book or wherever you keep it, it's important to keep them handy because you may need them. It's good to keep them somewhat complicated and not easy to figure out. You know, Antonia123 would not be a good password, or 111. And it's also advisable, the general advice is to change them every 3 to 4 months in case somebody hacks into something. This is an example, even though it's dated, it's a perfect example of an online fraudulent email from somebody pretending they're from a bank. And so I want you to know what these look like. If you, let's say, first of all, that you have an account, okay? Because I get these from banks I don't even have accounts with. So then, you know, you just know it's fraud. So here, if you scroll over the address, you'll see a different email that has nothing to do with Bank of America, okay? That's clue number 1. Clue number 2, undisclosed recipient. No, it should be to you directly if it's actually from your account. Let's look at grammatical errors. If this was correctly written, member would be capitalized. And right here, please review your account activity, period. There should be a period instead of a comma. So if there's a grammatical error or words missing, which I've seen, and I'll show you an example of that later, just toss it. And let's, you know, remember I talked about emotions. Here it is. We detected usual activity on your account for your protection. Please verify so you can continue making transactions without interruption. That's the scary part, right? So there our brain goes, oh, I have to do this, or, you know, I won't be able to use your account. Then they ask you to click here. If you scroll over this with your cursor, you'll see that, again, the link has nothing to do with Bank of America. And they ask you to sign in or click. Never, 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 never. One thing I'd like you to remember from today's is never click on these. And here's what we suggest that consumers do. Let's say you have an account with this company. You will receive monthly statements from them with a legitimate phone number. Go to that phone number and call them. Do not respond to this communication, whether it's a text or an email. Remember, you want to go and get legitimate information from the source. On the phone, never give personal information out unless you've called who you know is a legitimate company. Examples would be Medicare. Sometimes they'll somehow hack into a computer and then charge us. They want to call us and charge us hundreds of dollars for what's actually a free public domain app. In that situation, we said the best thing you can do is take your computer to a reputable repair place and let them have a look at it and see what's going on. The IRS won't call you. They know your social security number. They don't need to verify it with you. The only reason that the IRS might call is after many written communications and letters back and forth with you, and they've set up, okay, now let's have a chat. But the IRS is not going to call you without writing to you first and say, and I've heard this scam, and they'll say, we're from the IRS and we're going to send a sheriff over to arrest you unless you pay blah, blah, blah right now. And I've talked to actual officials from the IRS who says, nope, we don't send law enforcement, we have our own. And that's after lots of correspondence if it comes to that. Similarly, Social Security Administration, they don't need to call you and verify your social security number. They know what it is. Somebody may pretend they're from the health department or a drug company calling you. So be very careful about answering your phone. Basically, I say to most people, if you don't recognize the number on your phone, don't answer it. And even if it says it's from XYZ Bank, people can fake that too. So most legitimate people, and some scammers, unfortunately, will leave you a voicemail. And it's a way to control your time better. And this is the part where I talk about our materials. In our Protect Yourself from Fraud booklet, in the back, we have a little sheet, and I'm sorry if this is fuzzy. We have a little sheet, or is it my glasses, that talks about check before you invest. And this is a tool we created because lots of consumers said, we don't know what to ask people, before we do business with them. So we created this sheet. And we encourage consumers to ask folks, who are you? What service are you trying to sell me? Who are you licensed by? And what's your license number? On our next page in our booklet, we feature those state agencies, what their responsibilities for are, their contact information, and their websites. So this is our department, Department of Insurance, Real Estate, State Bar of California, California Board of Accountancy, and Contractor State License Board. These are some of the most common California regulators that people need to get in touch with. You can call them directly or look online, and they all have ways in their website of being able to check somebody's license. The other thing that's handy about this is, should something happen in the future, let's say you get a new roof and you have here your contractor's name, phone number, and their license number. Let's say 5 years from now, there's a problem and the roofer doesn't want to honor their warranty and you need to file a complaint with the Contractor State License Board. You can just whip this out and you know exactly what information you need to give the Contractor State License Board or us if you need to file a complaint. And also, if you start asking people what's your license number, and they get twitchy about it and don't want to give it to you, that's a red flag. Run away. So please remember, this is available in our booklet. It's really important to trust your instincts. Check your license before you sign a contract. And if you don't know, I want you to know that you're entitled to a free credit report every 12 months. This is a really easy way to check and see if anybody is abusing your credit without your knowing. And you can also freeze your credit. So the way you can do this is go to freecreditreport.com. And all information about this is also in our booklet. Please remember, it's really important to avoid financial decisions when someone is rushing you or pressuring you. When you're tired, hungry, and emotional. Or excited. Oh my God, I'm gonna get a phone for $10. No, you're not. It's too good to be true. So pause, sleep on it, wait 24 hours. What happens when you do this, I don't think I explained it earlier, is when we're stressed, as I said earlier, our brain chemistry changes. When we pause and sleep on it, that actually causes a chemical change in our brains. It literally rinses out all that stress chemistry and returns our brain chemistry to that which is available to make logical decisions. We want you to file a complaint with the department. If a licensee is breaking the law, please submit a complaint. And don't worry, if you don't know what the laws are, if they didn't treat you fairly, if they didn't treat you right, if they weren't helpful, if they didn't answer important questions you need for your account, we want to know. Hearing from you is one key way for us to learn about wrongdoing by financial service providers. One of the other ways we learn is when we do exams. We go out on a regular basis and look at all of our licensees and make sure that they're following the laws. And when they're not, we can investigate that. Sometimes we also hear from other law enforcement agencies who need our help doing investigations. So those are different ways we hear about people not following the law, but yours is key. If we don't license the company you're complaining about, we'll forward your complaint to the appropriate agency. For example, if you have a problem with a federal bank, a bank that's regulated by the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, that's the federal regulator, we'll forward that complaint to the comptroller or to whoever's up, And if someone is operating without a license, we really want to know that too. This is our social media links. I'll leave this up for a bit. And I can come back to it. So our website is dfpi.ca.gov. Go there for general information. You can call us if you have questions. Regarding complaints, we ask at this point for people to file a complaint online. And for those who want, you can call this consumer service line and ask for a complaint form to be sent to you by US mail. We can do that too. And you can also email us if you prefer that. So this is our contact information. And I'll leave this up. If you want, I'll go back to social media, but I'll leave this up for a bit. So that's my presentation for today. I know I've thrown a lot at you, but let's review the most important points. The DFPI is here to help with consumer financial issues and to regulate the marketplace. Remember not to make financial decisions when you're emotional. If you can, wait 24 hours. And we're here to take your complaints and answer your questions. So that segues us nicely into the Q&A.
Okay, well, thank you, Antonia. I'm getting a little bit of an echo here, so I hope you're not. We did have a question from Nefertari who wants to know about whether DFPI regulates scams involving Bitcoin.
That's an excellent question. Here's the problem with Bitcoin. No one regulates it. It is not regulated. Bitcoin is created by developers online. I've actually done a little deep diving into this. And one of the reasons people created Bitcoin was to avoid regulation. So be very, very careful.
Okay. So I would gather then that if someone falls for a Bitcoin scam, they have no recourse. Is that right?
Well, we want them to file a complaint with, they can start with us. The Federal Trade Commission and the FBI can look into that. But here's the thing. When I say no recourse, let's say somebody buys some Bitcoin and they found out that it's a fraud. It's going to be very hard to get that money back.
Okay. So this indicates that unless it's a secure transaction, you shouldn't get involved in a Bitcoin
Correct.
proposition.
You should be you can call us about this and ask questions beforehand.
Okay, and that would be the number that we have on the screen now.
Yes,
Okay,
that's our consumer services office number.
great. And Nefertari also asked if the library will ever have a presentation on Bitcoin. So I will leave that to the library, but just get that in there. And the library would like us to know that you can also get information and help from your local library. So of course, we'll put in a plug for that.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Your librarian will have access to the most current information, and they're a great resource.
Okay. What are you seeing with regard to text scams? I think those really look like they've increased in the last year, certainly, that come across on your phone.
Yes. And like the image I shared from email, if there's a word missing, I get those pretending to be from Amazon, saying there's a problem, your account is frozen, click here. And my suggestion, and all of them want you to click here or take an action. Do not take that action. Go directly again to your account and call a phone number or log in and make sure your account. For instance, I got one saying your payment method is expired. Enter the new one here. No. So I went to my account and I looked at my profile and I saw that the credit card I had on file was perfectly secure and up to date.
Yeah, I got one that said that my Amazon purchase of $899 had been approved. Click here. So I did go to Amazon and saw nothing like that in my cart. But I could have clicked there and been probably out $899.
Right. And this is that emotional moment of, oh my God, $800, click, what's going on? So, and be aware, that's one of those emotional moments. So instead of doing what they want, look at your legitimate information.
We have a question, or what are the odds if we do file a complaint that we will be able to get our money back?
It depends on the situation. And that's a really good question. Thank you. One of the things we ask when somebody files a complaint, we ask, what is it you would like to happen? Do you want a refund? Do you want, there are different questions that a consumer may have. And, wanting a refund is pretty common. And the answer really is, it depends on the situation and what the law allows.
Okay. So there's no one size fits all answer for filing a complaint. Just
no, because we have thousands of licensees and there are thousands of complaints, and it all depends on that particular issue. There are plenty of times when people do get refunds, and depending on the situation, the licensee can be fined on top of it.
Okay. And do you know anything about ransomware? That's something you deal with?
That isn't something we deal with, because I'm assuming that the person means ransomware is when somebody hacks the computer and says, unless you pay this ransom, we will freeze your computer. Which is why we say, computer services like that isn't something that we regulate. If it's just your individual computer, this is when we say, the best thing to do is take it to a legitimate computer repair place, and they can try and sort out the problem with you instead of paying them. But that isn't something that we regulate, but you can certainly call us and we'll refer you out to where you can get some help.
Okay. That's better than just panicking.
Yeah.
At least we can call.
Breathe, take a deep breath. Yeah. And call us.
Okay. Thanks. And we have a question about whether seniors are particularly targeted with certain schemes.
Oh, yes. And I'll tell you why. Thank you for that excellent question. And the reason is, as years ago, there was a joke that somebody asked a bank robber, how come you rob banks? And they said, that's what the money is. Seniors have had time to collect more assets, quite frankly. So they're victims of all kinds of scams. There's a stereotype, and I wonder if it's true, that seniors are less likely to be rude and to hang up on people that'll hear them out. And for especially around the holiday, now the holidays are coming, there may be, and COVID on top of it, there are a lot of seniors, people and seniors in particular, who have been more isolated than before and more isolated than ever. And they be more, they may tend more to talk to folks when they call just for the company. And scammers know this. One common one that we see is what we call the grandpa scam, where folks call in the middle of the night, grandma, grandpa, I'm in trouble. And unfortunately, in a lot of families, we're not surprised. I'm in a big family. We're not surprised when Johnny, calls and says he's in trouble. So with this kind of situation, hang up the phone, call up the number that's legitimate for Johnny, and you'll probably find out that he's in bed, even if it's safe and sound, even if it's 2 a.m. I actually know a friend of mine who fell for this. Her mother did, a very intelligent woman, and it caused tension in the family. The scammer said, I'm in jail, I need $3,000, wire it to this place, and don't tell dad because he'll be upset. And 3 months later, there was a family gathering, and she was really ticked off that Johnny didn't come and thank her for that help. Turns out he hadn't. It was a scammer. And there are lots of other different kinds of scams. I heard of romance. Oh my God, romance is a huge one. Thank you for asking this question. Especially lonely seniors are really subject to romance scams, and those are some of the hardest to fight, because it's hard to convince someone that somebody else doesn't love them. So if you're in a romance and it's new and people start asking for money for medical help or emergency or something, these are things to really be careful of.
Right. And what about robocalls? Those seem to have increased lately as well.
Yes, I had 2 this morning about my car warranty just before this. One on my landline and one on my cell phone. And I'm sorry, it's the bane of all our existence right now. And I've said for a long time now, if you don't know the number on your cell phone screen or on your caller ID, if you have a landline, don't answer it. Take control of your time. If it's legitimate, they'll leave a message. If it's not legitimate, sometimes they leave a message, but at least they didn't take your time. And I don't know about you, but the ones I see lately look like they're from my neighborhood. So it'll be a number that's kind of similar to mine. Oh, somebody from the area is calling me. Be very careful. I'm so sorry. I'm suffering with it too. You can also call your phone service provider and ask them if they offer any protection against these. Some of them are taking more action.
Yeah, is there a place online we can look up numbers to know if they're legitimate or not?
I've done that. I've just done call lookup. And I've entered, the phone number, and it'll tell me. Sometimes there have been a couple times where it says, nope, this is a scam. It's out of Utah or something.
Okay. So just before we close out, the holidays are coming up. Is there anything in particular that people should be looking for that seems to happen more around the holidays?
Oh, yeah. Lots of different charity scams. Be very, people asking for donations. Some people are in a situation where they can give and they'd like to give. Make sure that you give to a charity that you know is legitimate. And you can look for these on the Attorney General's website in the state of California. And also, if somebody pretends to be from a police force or a firefighter, these are not legitimate. I've been in meetings where the police in the room will say, "We will never call you and ask you for money." And the firefighters say this too. "We will never call you and ask you for money." So you can just say, "No, thank you," if you did answer the phone. Other kinds of holiday scams are definitely purchasing things and offers to buy things. Be very, very careful. If a deal seems too good to be true, if they're offering you some expensive item, again, I keep talking about, $1,000 phone that they offer you for $25. These are scams. Other tips for holiday shopping, if I may, is know the difference between your consumer protections if you're buying online. If you use a credit card, you have some consumer protection, and that money doesn't come directly out of your checking account. If you use a debit card to make a purchase, either in person or online, that money comes directly out of your checking account, and you don't have the same protections that you'd have if it's a credit card purchase. Also, if you're out making purchases in person and you're using your debit card, when the cashier says credit or debit, I want everybody to know that they can use that debit checking card through the credit system. And what that means is it goes through the Visa card process, and you don't need to put in your PIN number. And that means your PIN number is not available to the cashier or the person behind you. The point is, avoid using your PIN number if you can avoid it. That's one way to avoid using scams. It doesn't cost you any more to use it as a Visa. It's not a credit card transaction, meaning, but it goes through the credit system. And the money still comes directly out of your credit account. I hope I've explained that clearly.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so. That's a good tip. All right.
One last one is if you're using a debit card to withdraw money or do things like buy gasoline, be very careful in the little gizmo that you slip it in. If it looks like if it's loose in any way or doesn't look like it belongs, that's a scanner that people have actually attached to it. So pay attention.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate your joining us today. We've learned a lot, I think.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to be with you.
And Antonio would like us to know also that these presentations are available in Spanish. Should any of our audience know of an organization that would benefit from this in Spanish, you can do that. Right?
Yeah, just contact at the number here or ask DFPI and let us know what you need. And you can also ask for our publications and we can mail them to you.
Great. Well, thank you so much. We've enjoyed it today. And I hope you'll join us next week on October 28th, when our topic is Building a Lasting Legacy, How You Want to Be Remembered. Our presenters will be Ann Rosenthal, Managing Shareholder at Drobny Law Offices, and Sacramento Public Library's own Library Director, Rivka Sass. So if you haven't already registered, you can do that at saclibefriends.org or saclibrary.org. Thank you.